Okay, it's time to oil my Native American style flute. As you can see, I've already taken the block off of the top, and this is a cedar flute. It's an A, and this is a Wind Pony brand flute I got off of Amazon. So this is an affordable flute. It's probably made by a machine. However, it's a decent starter flute, and for many people, getting a $400 native flute right off the bat can be cost prohibitive, not to mention a little scary, because what if you mess up your nice $400 one-of-a-kind native flute? So if you want to get started and you're worried about breaking your flute and you want to practice your flute care, it's not a bad idea to get one of these less expensive ones where you won't freak out so much if you have a problem. So what I'm going to be doing with this is oiling the flute, and that is also a scary prospect if you're new to having a native flute. The idea of pouring oil into it might seem like you will hurt it, but I assure you, you will not if you use the right kind of oil. And the reason that we do this is because even though this outside has a finish, now you can actually buy these Wind Pony flutes on Amazon unfinished and then finish the top part yourself. However, the inside is not finished. I don't know if I can actually show that to you. Yeah, you can't really see that, but the inside is not finished. And so the reason why you want to finish, well, not finish, but oil your flute on the inside is to prevent it from cracking. Now, is it a guarantee your flute won't crack? I don't know, but it will at least lessen the possibility of it cracking. Now, I have this in the sink. There's already been some oiling that was done on a previous flute in here. This is what you see. That's the oil coming up. And it's a bit messy, so that's why I have the paper towels there. So this is a cedar flute, and it smells beautiful. When I took it out of the box, I was like, oh, it's such a nice smell. I kind of don't want to oil it because it's probably going to lose that nice cedar smell. However, I don't want it to crack either. So oiling it is. And the oil I'm going to use is this. This is actually expired Rite Aid mineral oil. And this happens to be, you can't really see it, but it's used for constipation, irregularity, it says in parentheses. And you're supposed to take this internally, actually. Let me see if I can see how much. Active ingredient, mineral oil, relieves occasional constipation, parentheses, irregularity. And directions, adults, 1 to 3 tablespoons full. So you'd actually take 3 tablespoons of this internally, which it claims it's odorless and tasteless and colorless, but it's still kind of gross in that way. And a lot of people get concerned about using this because it's not organic. Mineral oil, it kind of comes from the same stuff we make our petroleum, oil at the gas station from. But I kind of look at it as, well, that's all made from plants. It's really what we do when we process it. So this won't kill you unless you overdose on it. And it's, used for skincare and all sorts of other things. And the reason why quite a few people recommend this over using a vegetable oil is that this will not go rancid, but a vegetable oil will. Now, I actually have here this beautiful extra virgin organic sesame oil. So that might seem like that would be a better choice because it's organic, it's made from food, but this could potentially go rancid. I'm actually not sure about the sesame oil. I looked it up to see if sesame oil would work on the flute. Couldn't really find anything. And that is actually not for anything but my Ayurvedic self-massage or Abhyanga. So I'm actually going to use this as an external massage oil. And then this mineral oil, which has been sitting in the cabinet for a little while, is going to get repurposed into oiling up the new flute here. So don't be shy. We're going to just take this and pour that down the bottom. I'm actually going to oil the block too. Now, I'm not sure if you're supposed to oil the block, but I figure why not? You can't really see it that well in this, but the bottom's unfinished. There's actually the top's a little bit unfinished too. I got this particular flute, which is an A, comes in a package on Amazon where you get an A and a C flute, and they both together cost $150, which is a crazy cheap price. That's why you don't expect much with them in terms of them. They're not authentic. They probably were done by machine. They don't have all the fancy decorations on them. But, like I said, it's good starter flute. This one came with this, possibly a poplar block. The other one, the C, actually has the same wood for the block too. So you don't know if you're going to get a cedar block with your cedar flute, but this is fine. I kind of like the fact that it's a different color. Gives it a little bit more interest. The wind pony flutes, by the way, typically come in poplar and cedar. And if I'm not completely confusing this, the cedar is a softer wood, and those tend to have nicer tones, which is why the cedar ones are a little bit more expensive, relatively speaking, because like I said, these wind pony flutes are actually quite affordable. So, especially in the time of coronavirus, people are losing work but might want to have a hobby. I'm not going to argue about having an affordable flute for people. So I'm just starting off with a cotton ball and putting some oil on this little block here. Like I said, you don't really need to oil the block. The block can be easily replaced. It's not going to destroy the flute if the block breaks, but why not? And also because this is a little bit rough. In fact, it's kind of splintering here. I'm going to pull that splinter off. I'm going to oil it. In fact, you know what? Considering this is such a dry little wood here, I'm just going to pour this on here. Now, if you had a completely unfinished native flute, and Wind Pony sells unfinished flutes on Amazon, you could take tung oil, that's T-U-N-G, tung oil, and actually use that tung oil to create a nice finish, but you have to kind of coat it on a regular basis, and over time it will develop a nice finish. So that's another thing you can do. If you want to get a more affordable flute, you can get an unfinished one. Okay, so this block is pretty saturated. I might want to, if I had the inclination, actually finish this block a little bit more, which I could use some tung oil for that, or patent. I don't know. I suppose you could paint it. I don't know what the rules are for blocks, but that block is a bit, what would you say? It's a bit rough. However, the rest of this flute has been finished on the outside. It's got a nice little finish, and it's quite pretty, and it sounds wonderful. I did play it just once, and it's got a very nice sound, despite being cheap. So here's the thing. You want to oil your flutes, and also if you had a Baroque flute that happened to be wood, those need to be oiled too. So with the native flutes and the Baroque flutes that are made out of wood, as opposed to the plastic, you can get a lot of plastic recorders now. The Baroque recorders made out of wood also have a tendency to crack if they're not taken care of. So oiling helps prevent cracking the wood, because what happens is as you play, moisture gets into the flute, and then the outside, which might have a finish on it like this, stays one size, and then the inside expands a bit, and then you get a crack. So the oil will hopefully help prevent that, or at least lessen the likelihood of that. The other thing is very important when you get a new native flute, don't pick it out of the box without oiling it and then play it 10 hours a day, because that will also put too much moisture in the flute and it'll be much more likely to crack. So oil it, and then whether you oil it or not, only play it like 10 to 15 minutes a day to start. You can find schedules online. Okay, enough of my yammering. I'm going to just pour some of this oil down here. I'm being quite liberal with it because, well, it's Rite Aid mineral oil. It's certainly not liquid gold or anything, and what I want is for this oil to get in there and really coat the inside of the, oops, I'm going to do it this way, the inside of this flute, and let it drip down there. In fact, I'm probably going to pour it again from the top. You won't be able to see it. Okay. Nice. And then you can rotate it as the oil starts to drip. You see that it's now dripping down. I'm also going to just coat the outside, even though it's already finished. It's going to get on there anyway, and I might as well have it evenly coated. All right. Actually, it's also good to have these holes coated because, especially for beginners, we put our fingers on here, but we don't close the hole all the way, and then that causes some problems with their playing. So apparently the oil can help create a bit more of a seal on these. So along those lines, I'm going to take a Q-tip. Since there's so much oil dripping off of here, let's just try to use the oil that's already dripping off. There we go. So I'm going to make sure it's nice and coated, and then I'm just going to go and Q-tip these little holes. I don't know if you can see that. Well, it's not so important to do these ones up here. That's where the block covers the flute. Then I'm also going to do the entryway. Yeah, you see it's not so much dirt that's on there, but the residual from the manufacturing process. Okay, so I have poured the oil down the bottom end. I'm now going to pour it down the top end. Probably should have done that before I Q-tipped it, but trying not to drip on the floor over here, but it's a big flute. It's a small, actually it's not a small sink. It's still a large sink, but not large enough. I suppose you could do this in a bathtub too, if you're really concerned about getting it on the floor. All right. So now I have this big, greasy, oily flute. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some handkerchief covered in oil, which is actually on a stick that is designed to clean a Baroque recorder, actually, but it works well for this. There's already oil on this because I had oiled another flute right before this. I actually filmed a whole other video, and then my phone just completely destroyed the video. Whoop. Be careful I don't oil my phone here too. I have this tripod set up, but it's just a really bad tripod. Okay, so I'm just going to move this around in here to try to not only disperse the oil, but also kind of soak up a little bit of the extra. It gets up to about there. Okay, see all that? That's all the sawdust from this being bored, B-O-R-E-D. So when they first made this flute, they obviously used some sort of tool to cut in there, and that is the residual. So now I'm going to clean off the outside and then let this thing, I don't know if dry is the right word, clean it off and let it dry, and then take the excess mineral oil. Very good if you happen to have hands that chap a lot in the winter like I do. I like to at least get the benefit of a little bit of hand therapy. like I said, don't worry that the mineral oil is toxic. People have been taking that for decades internally for their constipation. So it's not like you want to have it every day, but probably not gonna kill you. Now, some people like to use nut oils or food grade oils that they like the taste of, so that when they play their flute, they can, I suppose the mineral oil is not supposed to taste like anything, but certain oils taste better than others. And so I saw one blog where they were using hazelnut oil, but I didn't happen to have any on hand, and I was eager to get this new Christmas flute all ready to play. So here we go. Sorry, I don't have a professional camera person here to look at this. So the outside's still going to be a little tacky and a little greasy, but that's fine. And then as I feel the inside, it's still a little dry in some spots and rough, particularly here, but I think I might just pour a little bit more. I was thinking maybe that's enough. I'm like, there's just this one side here. I honestly don't think it's possible unless you, did a full bath, which I guess some people do, to get every single nook and cranny on your first go. So I poured that in there. And I'm swishing it around. See, it's coming out there. And then I'm going to set this upside down a little bit and just let that kind of fall down a little bit. Now, I'm not an expert native flute maker, so I'm sure there's probably better ways to do all this than what I'm doing it, but you're probably just an average person like I am. So what do you do when you're at home and you have just one little sink and you're not going to be able to do a big native flute bath to get your flute oiled? Well, here's what you do. You kind of improvise. I think this block is doing a lot better with this oil. It just feels less rough, and it's actually looking a little nicer too. So I think once that settles in there, it's going to be nice. Now, how often are you supposed to oil your flute? Apparently, if you're playing it regularly, could be as much as 2 to 4 weeks. So maybe once a month. I would maybe do, if you're not playing it that frequently, maybe other month or every couple of months at least. You certainly want to do it every, at least once a year if it's just sitting there. But, check it and see how it's feeling. So the idea is that there's a little bit of a coating in there to help protect the flute. The oil won't last forever, so that's the reason why it needs to be redone. And you might also find that certain types of oils are maybe better or worse. You might find worse oils that you like better. I'm just going to push that in there one more time. So I think I'm almost done here. There we go. But I would suspect that if you're oiling it regularly, if there is some spots that you missed the first time around, you'll get it the next time around. So I would err, if you're not sure, and if you're not sure your oiling is really penetrating, then just err on doing more than not more. Okay. So there it is with all of the oil put in there. It has a nice shiny surface, looks good. I'm going to reattach the block. Actually, let me wipe that off a little bit. I'm going to reattach the block, and then my flute is good to go. And because this is a new flute, I will not be playing it more than 15 to 20 minutes per day for at least the next week. I have to double check the schedule. You can find these schedules on various websites. And then as it gets settled in, then I will be able to play it more frequently. And then you need to just follow your good flute care practice. And then hopefully your flute will last a while. And if you're just getting started, I do recommend getting just like a cheaper flute so you can get more comfortable with using it, get more comfortable with fiddling around with it, doing the oiling, making sure that you're able to take care of it properly. Unless you've got money to blow, then go for it. Go help an artisan and get a really nice flute. But if you're worried about can I take care of my flute, it's kind of like getting a puppy. Are you able to take care of your puppy? So you could start off with one of these inexpensive, mass-produced flutes, fiddle around with it, get more comfortable, and then go and get the flute of your dreams. So I hope this was helpful, and happy flute playing. Thank you.